Okay, I'm going to start my today's session, and almost we are on the verge of completing the syllabus. This is the last unit which I started a few weeks ago. This is about the topic of bivariate distribution, uh, which is a part of multivariate distribution, of course, but we shall not progress further beyond number of variables being more than two. Okay, so we shall try to stick to only two variable situation, whereas the situation can be, it can be, we can increase the number to any, we can increase the variables to any number, to any size. And consequently, all the theories that have been established in case of univariate distribution will be carried forward to that multivariate distribution. The note which actually I'm sharing right now, we started this particular note, we started reading this particular note in one of my earlier classes, but again, I'm going to start from the scratch because in that class, some of the concepts were not actually clear to you properly, and I was a bit in a hurry to move along, so I didn't put much concentration or much time. I didn't dedicate much time on the in discussing this particular thing, but today is the time where I'm going to discuss it in details with by showing you examples and problems. And since it has been long, you have forgotten things. So to just remind you, the what we discussed in that particular class was about the distribution function and probability density function. So we are going to discuss the continuous case here. The discrete case has been discussed earlier, and the corresponding video was uploaded in the YouTube. So here I'm going to discuss the continuous case. Now a definition if I want to start with the definition, it goes like this: that a bivariate function of this form defined over the xy plane is called joint probability density function. If we can express the probability, you can represent the probability in the following manner. Now geometrically, what does it mean? It means that suppose we have a three-dimensional system, because whenever we talk about multivariable, whenever I talk about a variable, a function which is the function of two independent variables, that means what? That means this functional value will be along the z-axis depending upon the two input variables which are lying on the two-dimensional plane. So if I consider this to be my x axis and this to be my y axis, and we are only considering the positive side, positive quadrant only for simplifying things. So if I consider this particular quadrant, and if this this base, this xy plane is my domain of interest, suppose this is my domain of interest. Now what happens is that corresponding to the variable small x can take infinitely many values on this real line, small y can take infinitely many values on this real line. So corresponding to these two variables, we can consider two other variables, random variables. One is capital X and another is capital Y. And we'll say that capital Y X can take any value on the x-axis and capital Y can take any value on the y-axis. And we'll like to look at these values pairwise. Okay. Now, corresponding to the pair of values x, y, we will get something. If I substitute that value, we will get something which will be called as f of xy. In general, I can write it in the manner. I am writing the random variables inside the function, but you will assume, you will think of this particular notation as different functional values for different pair of points x and y. Okay. Now, gradually, if you go on doing like this, and since there are infinitely many possibilities, you are going to erect some structure. This structure may be a cube, maybe a cylinder, maybe a cone, anything. You are going to get a structure whose base is containing the pair of variables capital X and capital Y, which is the domain. Okay, and for infinitely many pairs like this, we are going to get a structure like this. Now, this particular structure, this particular solid structure will be having some sort of volume inside it. Now, in this probability theory, the volume contained by this particular structure, solid structure, is actually equivalent to finding the random variables, the pair of random variables in the base of the structure. The probability, the total probability that I'm talking about, or the probability I'm talking about, is actually defining the volume contained by the solid structure, which is obtained by different pair of representations for capital X and capital Y. And this particular volume is represented by the double integration over, which will be defined over the area capital A, because this is the domain in which capital X, Y is varying, pairwise they are varying. And if this small fxy is your probability function, then we are going to integrate it twice, one with respect to X and then with respect to Y, to get the probability. Okay, now you can change the order of integration. It is not always that this, whenever I write double integration over A fxy dx dy, it actually means that we have some range of y and we have some range of x, and on the basis of this range of x and y, we are going to integrate our function fxy. Now, this sometimes can also be written as double integration over x and y. Means first of all, we are going to integrate with respect to y, and then we are going to integrate with respect to x of the probability function fxy dx dy. Okay, so this thing that I have done is called the order of integration, change of order of integration. But depending upon the situation, sometimes it can be done or sometimes it cannot be. Now, I'm not going into the details of this because it's not a part of probability theory, it is a part of hardcore calculus. Okay. So we have defined the probability density function for bivariate distribution, and this happens only when the case is a continuous case. But if you know that if the case is a discrete case, then this integration will be replaced by two summation signs. One will be taken over the variable x and another will be taken over the variable y. Now, as I have just told you, that all the properties that you have established in the case of univariate distribution will be carried over to any distribution, be it bivariate or be it trivariate or be it multivariate. So all the properties, all the fundamental properties of univariate case will also be true for the bivariate case. So we know that the fundamental property for univariate case is, if I consider the, if I stick to the discussion of a continuous random variable, which is a single variable only, we very well know that the probability density function is always non-negative, and integration of fx dx is equal to 1, where the integration is considered over the all possible values of x. Now, these are the two fundamental properties of the probability density function for univariate case. The same thing will be reflected in case of bivariate case. Now, x can take any values in this real line and y can take any value in another real line. Corresponding to that, all these probabilities that we will be calculating or considering will be non-negative. Okay, negative probabilities will not be considered because you are actually in the probability space. If it are not the probability space, we could have considered any representation of fxy, but we have to keep in mind that this needs to be always non-negative because it is probability. And the total probability means when we are going to integrate from -infinity to +infinity. We know that for the univariate case, when we integrate from -infinity to +infinity, the function fx with respect to the input variable, then the total probability comes out to be 1. Here, instead of considering the single integration, we are going to consider the double integration. And so, therefore, double integral over x and y will be of the function fxy will be again equal to 1. Now, I have not mentioned whether it is y or it is x or it is x or it is y, because you can do anything. I had to show you the generalized version of this particular property. So if I write y over here and x over there, so you may always think that it should be always like that, but it is not, depending upon the structure of the function that we are dealing with. We can sometimes, and remember the word, sometimes we can interchange the order of the integration, not always. There are certain conditions under which we can change this order of the integration. Now we are coming to the problem section. Now we have this problem. I can recall that once I discussed this problem with you, but yet since I have started it at fresh, I'm going to discuss this problem once again. So we have a probability function fxy, which is 3 by 5x y plus x, and x is lying in the range 0, 1, and y is lying in the range 0, 2. And for the completeness of the probability function, we have to write this particular property also, or the inherent property of the function, which says that in any other range for x and y together, the probability is 0. So what do we mean by this any other range? By this word any other range, we actually mean that if x takes the value lesser than 0, or x is greater than 1, or if y is less than 0 or y is greater than 2, in these cases, this probability, if any of this is true, that this probability is giving you the value 0. Okay, so we have to consider the probability function value in these two ranges only, 0 to 1 and 0 to 2. And 0 to 1 is actually for the real line corresponding to x-axis, and 0 to 2 is corresponding to y-axis. Now we are going to calculate the probability of this type. We are going to calculate the probability of this type, where we have been asked to calculate the probability for the range 0 to half for the random variable capital X, and y for the random variable capital Y. Now you see that this particular range of x that needs to be considered to calculate the probability, this range 0 half is definitely the sub range of the original one, that is 0 1, and 1 2, the range of y is the sub range of the original range, that is 0 2. So if the function is defined for x to be lying in 0 1 and y to be lying in 0 2, the function is also defined for x to be lying in 0 half and y to be lying in 0 2. So definitely we can proceed. We don't have to manipulate things. So accordingly, according to the definition given, we know that the probability is given by this. And since we always, it's kind of general notion that we always say x, y, z, this is the sequence that we maintain in the English alphabet. So here also we can maintain that sequence to integrate x first and then y. But there is no hard and fast rule. You can write the alternative option also. You can go for that. So I am doing the integration from x to 0 first, and then I am going to integrate with respect to y. So that's why I have written in this particular manner. Now, if I do so, then what happens is that since we know that the function, this particular problem is quite easy, so it will not be facing any difficulties in understanding this problem. That also you didn't face any difficulty to understand this one, but the second one that I'm going to explain very shortly, that was the problematic, and that needs to be much attention. So here what I'm going to do is that we can integrate this function, which is written over here, with respect to x. But whenever we do such a kind of thing, and if the function is a function of two variables, remember this property that in this particular integration of the function 3 by 5 xy plus x square, y, this quantity y or this element y will be treated as a constant. This means that this integration will not affect the quantity y. It will remain unaffected throughout the integration. So keeping y, treating y as constant, we are going to integrate the thing. First of all, you can take 3 by 5 outside the integration, and then we are going to integrate this particular thing as treating y as constant. We can integrate x with respect to x, which is x squared by 2. And this is no y is present over here in this particular term. So you can write it as x cubed by 3. And if I do so, then we are getting this expression. And since x is running from 0 to half, so you are putting your definite integral over there. You are putting the lower and the upper limit. First of all, you are putting these values in place of x, and you are calculating. So the expression that you are getting is coming with respect to y only. X is not there because x value has been put already. And ultimately, you are getting a function which is a function of single variable y. And then you can integrate it once again with respect to y to get the final result. Now, what you can do, you can later check the calculation. You can do the calculation by your own, and you can verify whether 11 by 80 is being obtained by you or not. Okay. So I don't think personally that you'll be facing any trouble while dealing with this particular integration. Now, let us come to the next problem. The next problem is actually a bit not problematic. It is a bit, it needs some kind of in-depth understanding about the domain of the integration. Next problem is not about the probability function. It is actually about the distribution function. Now, when we studied the univariate case, first of all, we defined the probability mass function in case of discrete random variable, and probability density function in case of continuous random variable. But if you can remember, for both the cases, we define the distribution function as follows: probability of x less than or equal to small x. Now, this was the case when we dealt with single random variable. Distribution function, in a word, is kind of a cumulative frequency, which takes into consideration all the previous probabilities and it adds them up to the final probability. And you know that as the total of the cumulative final value of the cumulative frequency is equal to the total frequency. So just like that, the final value of the cumulative distribution function is the total probability. So always you remember that the final cumulative distribution's value needs to be 1 always. If it is not 1, then that means you have done something wrong in the calculation. So you all know this particular fact. This definition has been generalized to bivariate case, and in case of bivariate distribution, we are treating the function f cap, which is the function of two variables x and y, and we are writing that capital X is taking values lesser than small x, and at the same time, capital Y is taking values lesser than small y. And when x less than or equal to small x, you know that there is no lower bound, so the integration will be from minus infinity to x, and for y there is no lower bound, so we are integrating from minus infinity to y. And why I'm writing it as x and y, because x is the upper limit and y is the lower limit, which can take any value depending upon the situation. And here I'm renaming the variables as follows: that I'm considering small s in place of small x and small t in place of small y. And I'm rewriting this particular function in terms of s and t, the two new variables. After integrating this particular quantity, we are going to replace s by small x and t by small y. And where x and y, these upper limits of corresponding to the two variables S and T. These upper limits are actually also can take any value in the real line. This FST is our joint probability density function of the random variable capital X and capital Y. Now, in place of S and T, you can name this variable S and T by any name as per your wish. Okay, so naming things doesn't have any actual significant things. We can do it in any way. Now, here is the problem where we got stuck in our previous class. I started discussing the problem, but somewhere in some part of the calculation, I can remember that the student, one of the students was not able to understand what was happening, but I didn't clarify the thing and I moved on. Okay, so here I'm going to explain the thing once again. I think that now if the student is present in this particular class, he or she is going to understand the matter clearly. Now here in this particular case, the joint probability function is defined in the following manner. And we shall always try to look at the range of the integration. The domain is very important for us, okay? And corresponding to this joint probability density function, we are going to find the joint distribution function. That means we are going to calculate the cumulative distribution. Okay. Now, since in the definition of cumulative distribution, this range of X can be anything. This X is actually taking any value from -infinity to +infinity. And Y can take any value from -infinity to +infinity. And since these two variables are jointly taking the values, so if you think it deep, you will understand that different situations may arise. It is not always that they are playing in parity with one another. Okay, so it is not like that X is saying that, okay, I have bought one I have downloaded one movie, so you should also download another movie. Not like this. Okay, so this particular person X is behaving in a way, and this person is also behaving in a way. They are simultaneously behaving in taking the values, but it is not like that whatever you are going to do this over here, that the same thing will be reflected over here. It can fluctuate in its own way. It can fluctuate its own way, but they are going to fluctuate together. That is for sure. That means if I want to consider the situation that a person, all of you are sitting in this particular class, all of you have to sit in this particular class to either listen to me or not listen to me. Okay, it is not like that everybody is listening, but everybody is present. Those who want to be present, they are all present, but some of you are doing some other thing, some of you are doing chatting or whatever, but you are attending the class simultaneously, but you are fluctuating in your own way. And the same thing is happening over here with the two guys. So we have to deal with the situation very cleverly. So what we decided to do is that, first of all, in this particular picture, and here comes your this particular part which actually needs attention, that what we are going to do in this particular diagram, we are going to take the positive quadrant to keep us always to always make us ourselves remember that we are dealing with the probabilities, where we are doing the calculation in the probability space. We are marking the point 1 on the x-axis and 1 on the y-axis. Now we have divided the region into several parts, and part-wise we are going to consider them and check what sort of probabilities they are giving us. So first of all, since in this particular quadrant 0, 0, the origin is also a point. So first of all, we are going to calculate the distribution function at the point 0, 0, because 0, 0 is the part of my diagram. So we are putting x equal to 0 over here and y equal to 0 over there. And you know, by the definition, it must be probability of x less than 0 and probability of x less than 0 jointly with y less than 0. Now, in these two cases, according to the, if you look at the joint probability function once again, when I write that the joint probability function is zero elsewhere, as I told you in the previous problem, that it happens when x is less than zero and y is less than zero, or x is greater than 1 and y is greater than 1. So there it happens that fxy taking the value 0. So the same thing is happening. X and y both are taking the value lesser than 0, and that in that particular case, the joint probability function is 0. So here I'm getting f00 as 0, which is quite simple. Now we will try to understand. What are these regions telling us about the domain of the x and y. Now you see that if I consider this range, if this I'm considering this region 1, in this region x is taking the value from 0 to 1. X is taking the value from 0 to 1. Just look at this. And y is taking the value from 0 to 1. In this area, it is actually taking any value between 0 to 1. Okay. Now you can think that when I started with the probability function, we talked about a 3-dimensional figure, but here I have not drawn any 3-dimensional thing. I don't want to draw any 3-dimensional thing because I am only interested in knowing this particular base. Okay, so this particular base on which the structure would be erected, that base is being shown to you. So I am actually, the shaded region is this region, which has been divided into 4 parts. Okay, now now in the first region, when x is lying between 0 and 1 and y is lying between 0 and 1, in the region 2 something else is happening. Just look at the picture. X is greater than 1 over there. In this particular range, x is greater, but y is still lying between 0 and 1 in this range. So y is bounded by this particular region 0 to 1, but x has crossed the limit 1. So this is happening in the region 2. What is happening in region 3? In region 3, just the opposite is happening. Y has crossed the limit 1. So I'm writing here y greater than 1, and x is lying between 0 and 1. X is still bounded by the limit 0 and 1. And region 4 is something where both of these variables have crossed the limit of 1. So here x is greater than 1 and y is greater than 1. So I think that you do not have any problem in understanding the region of interest. For the sake of your knowledge, I want to tell you that this particular problem has been taken from the John Freund's book. The problem is solved over there, but the solution has not been shown explicitly. They have just written the result. Okay, so here I'm going to show you the solution in an explicit way. Okay, so if you have the John Freund book, you can find the page in which this particular problem is present. Now, first of all, we shall deal with the region 1. Region 1 is quite simple. You see, region 1, first of all, I have written the definition. Just look at the definition that is going to play a vital role in our case always. So we have the definition as follows, that fxy is 0 to y, 0 to x, and fxy or fst, if you want to say, fst ds dt. Okay, now here this, if you want to be more explicit, you will find that this y is between 0 to 1 and this x is also between 0 to 1. You have to remember that what limits they are taking. X is also between 0 to 1. Okay, so we can represent the thing in the following manner. Now, in this limit of 0 to 1 for both x and y, we know that the functional form is x plus y. So in place of x plus y, we're writing s plus t. And then it is just a matter of integration. I'm not explaining, I'm not showing it in details. You can integrate right now to check whether the validity of the calculation, that when we integrate with respect to s first, treating t as constant and putting the limit 0 and x over here, you will find this expression, and that expression will be again be integrated with respect to one thing that I actually need to rectify is that here the mistake has been made. This y will not be there, it should be small t. Sorry, this y is actually in my mind I was playing with y, so this is not y, this is small t. So the expression will be in terms of t, and that will be integrated with respect to t, and then we are going to substitute the limit of t from 0 to y. So you can after the calculation you will get the form of the distribution function as this half xy, x plus y, which is happening in this particular region 1. Okay, so that is also not very much difficult to understand. Next, we are going to moving to the part which is region 2. Now let us try to understand region 2 very carefully. In the previous form of the note, which though I haven't shared with you, the calculation of this particular part was not that much explicit. So I have tried to write the expression in an explicit manner over here. In region 2, if I want to calculate fxy, then by definition, we know that capital X is less than X and capital Y is less than Y. But at the same time, we know that X is greater than 1 in this region 2, and Y is lying between 0 and 1. That we have to keep in mind. First of all, here I have applied the definition, nothing else. In this particular step, I have applied the definition. So from minus infinity to Y and minus infinity to X, we need to integrate this quantity fst. Now, what I have done is that without changing the inner integration, I have tried to change the outer integration, and I have divided the outer integration of that is with respect to y. I'm writing it as from minus infinity to 0 and from 0 to y. That I can do, and I have the freedom to do this. So I'm writing it as minus infinity to 0 and 0 to y. But we, at the same time, we have to keep in mind that this y is taking the value from 0 to 1. Now, when I am considering that this integral, where y has been considered from minus infinity to 0, even if the x is valid, we cannot consider the integral function, because jointly, if they are falling in the range from 0 to 1 and 0 to 1, then it is okay. But if at least one is violating the property, is outside the range, their joint probability will not be having that expression, and that will be 0. So since y is falling below 0, this limit is prohibited. It is in the elsewhere section. So that probability is coming out as 0. So only we are left with this probability, this expression. So, okay, so after this, we have got this expression 0 to y from minus infinity to x fst ds dt. Okay, now we are going to play with the inner integral, which is minus infinity to x. Now, this integral is again by the same rule being divided into two halves. I am writing it as minus infinity to 0 fst and 0 to x fst ds. Outside we are writing dt. Now, again, this integral will vanish because in this particular range, function is invalid. So we are left with only one integral, which is 0 to y, and this one, 0 to x fst ds dt. But here x, you have to keep in mind that it is taking value greater than 1. Okay. Since x can take value greater than 1, in the region 2, why it is taking value greater than 1? Because it is, we are actually dealing with region 2. So therefore, we have to manipulate the thing a little bit further. Now, when I am writing that integration is from 0 to x, and you know that x is a quantity which must lie between 0 to 1. Now, this x is any real number between 0 to 1. Okay, so when I'm writing this particular thing that x is greater than 1, so x can take any value greater than 1, strictly greater than 1. But we don't want, we cannot find this integral until unless we divide the region in an appropriate way. So what we have done is that since x is greater than 1, we are dividing the region in the following manner, that 0 to 1 and 1 to infinity. Okay, so 1 to infinity, actually we are actually interested about this quantity 1 to infinity. And you know that in this integral, this function is actually having the value 0, because x cannot be greater than 1 at the same time. So we are left with this part. And in this part, and you know that we do not have any problem with y, because y can vary in this particular range 0 to 1. So we can integrate easily this particular function, and ultimately we are going to get this expression half into y plus 1. So this probability is actually playing in the region 2. Now, similarly, by looking at region 3, you can by similar calculation, and I have shown it in an explicit way over here. Meanwhile, you can write, the chat box is open. You can, we have 2 minutes 36 seconds left. You can write your roll numbers in the chat box. Please do it quickly. So similarly, by considering the region 3, you can divide the region into next in an elaborate way, in an explicit way, and you can write all the expressions over here. I have introduced many other steps over here so that you can understand this part well. And by doing this calculation, I have found the probability that with the region 3, the probability comes out to be half into x plus 1. So I'm not going to the mathematical details. You can understand this very well when I'll share the note with you. And lastly, region 4, where x is greater than 1 and y is greater than 1. In this region, the ultimate probability is coming out to be 1, and which needs to be because we know the last value of the cumulative density or cumulative distribution function should always be equal to 1. The last value of the distribution function should always be equal to the total probability. And since my calculation is correct, my total probability is coming out to be 1. And after this, we are writing the distribution function, because at the end of the day, we are dealing with the function. So we have to write the function in an appropriate way. We are writing the distribution function in the following manner. And whatever result that we have got in this particular case, we have tabulated all the results for its corresponding range. For x less than 0 and y less than 0, we got 0. And for this range, we had got this probability and so on. So this is your distribution function. Only 43 participants have so far written their names in the chat box. And if anybody is left and he or she is not writing their roll numbers in the chat box, they will be marked absent. Okay, so if you are not attentive and you are not writing your roll numbers in the chat box, then it is your entire responsibility for being absent in my class, although you are present. So we are going to continue in the next class.